Welcome along to TUI Transfer Talk, and as more reports are coming in and as we near the end of the season, the reports and rumours suggest that Claude Puel does not have a future. We've already touched upon this in a previous video a couple of weeks ago now, but there's more reports suggesting from actually solid sources this weekend, this week even. The Independent have reported that Saints are chasing Marco Silva and Carlos Carvalhal to replace Claude in the summer. With Nick, first of all, mate, initial thoughts on that. I mean, Silva and Carvalhal, they've done brilliant at their clubs, haven't they?
Yeah, they have. I mean, Carvalhal, or whatever it's pronounced, is Sheffield Wednesday. And it's obviously a far different thing to be in the Championship than the Premier. But Marco Silva has come in, and I think Marco Silva would be a choice for many Saints fans here. But he's come in and, done the business at Hull. I mean, it looks like there's a break clause in Silva's contract at Hull that if they go down, he can walk away. But he's only got an 18-month contract anyway, so he's only got a year left of that. I'd have thought, given the ownership issues at Hull and having to sell players and no money being invested, that, if Saints come in, or other clubs for that matter, because there's clubs in Portugal being linked with him, and I think France as well, that he may leave anyway. The answer is, it'll be a popular choice. I mean, I've stuck up for Claude Puel, and I've always said that you have to give him a year. You can't take isolated things. And, a lot of fans were gutted at going out of Europe, and that was a big factor for them. And it's created this perception that this is a awful season. And I see phrases mooted around like, this is the worst time ever. Well, I've got to say, these people weren't at places like Stockport and Walsall when we were losing 1-0 in League One, if they think this is the worst time ever. And I think a lot of people up there have got to start getting a reality check about what it is to be a football fan. The reality is that if we do win the next 2 out of the next 3 games, we'll finish in the top 10. And that's probably as good as it's ever got for Saints, in terms of consistency in the Premier League. That being said, there are plenty of things wrong. So, the style of football is awful at the moment. But there are things that are not within the power of Claude Puel to deal with. And, the failure in the first half of the season to land the type of forward he needed, i.e. Gabbiadini, for instance, in August, played a big part in the first half of the season. And his rotation policy, which was within his grasp as such. But the second half of the season, it wasn't Claude Puel's fault that we got rid of Jose Fonte and didn't replace him. And it wasn't Claude Puel's fault that that little scrote Jamie Vardy ran his boots down the back of Virgil van Dijk. But, that was the fault of Les Reed and his men who failed to replace him. So there are things that Puel has got to be given a little bit of slack for. But in the last 10 games of the season or so, he hasn't performed to the levels that you would want him to. There's an old saying in football, you do the same things, you get the same results. And we're doing the same things week in, week out, and the games are going exactly the same. I mean, 20 goals, it's not just not scoring goals, it's conceding goals. We're probably the worst defence in the last 10 games of anyone else in the league. You add to that probably the worst scorers in the last 10 games, and we've got a problem. So there's 3 things that we look at, and that's the manager's own personal performance in running the team, and that hasn't been up to standard in the last 10 games. You've then got to look at how the team are actually performing, because you can still play badly and win games, and we're not doing it in that. So I think it's 17 points in last 13 games, not good, or 15 points in the last 13 games, not good enough. And then you get on to what the board's expectations are. And the board will look at 2 things, really. They'll look at the dressing room, which is something we can't see. I mean, they will always put out everything is fine, everything's hunky-dory, everyone loves Claude Puel, we all love each other. But the reality is we've seen 2 open spats in Dusan Tadic speaking out against the manager and Shane Long when that debacle of him being taken off. So the board will know more than us about that. The board will look at poor season ticket sales. I mean, that's the first game I've been to last night with Arsenal, where you could buy a ticket on the day of the game. There's empty seats. I knew 3 or 4 people just didn't even bother turning up for one reason or another. The board will notice empty seats. The season ticket sales are up, or renewals are up on Sunday, and if a significant portion don't renew, that will lead them to do it. I'm not saying that people shouldn't renew, but that's gonna be a factor.
Well, there's a few things we can take from that, really. You went on for quite a while there.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the first thing, the reports from France suggest that he will be going to, well, could be going to Saint Etienne, who have got a sort of short list for their new manager. And actually, I'm just reading a report now that some of the reports suggest that Claude Puel's had a decent season. But, as you said, we've gone through it all. We've been through the mill this season. We've had lots of highs, lots of disappointments. But, I mean, ultimately, we've got these two managers in Carlos Carvalhal and Marco Silva who look like they've got good ideas. And actually, for me, what we want is an authoritative figure. Because that's what we've done so well over the last 4 or 5 seasons since coming back in the Premier League. Ronald Koeman and Pochettino have been authoritative figures. And I think Claude Puel has given in to the players this season, like Dusan Tadic, and there's no authority. He needs to stamp that authority into the team.
Absolutely. There's some credence in that. I mean, I see some things. I can't understand him in a press conference and that. Well, I couldn't understand Mauricio Pochettino because he never spoke English in a press conference. So I don't think that's got anything to do with it. But I do take people's point about his personality. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a way back from this for Claude Puel. At least not without a lot of pain, etc. The dichotomy of the situation is we said, probably if we look back at some of the videos we did back in July and August, if someone had said to us then, this is the season, you're going to finish possibly 8th, 9th or 10th, we're going to get to Wembley, okay, we'll lose, we're going to have a little run in Europe, we'd have probably said, wow, that sounds like a great season. I mean, I've been following the team for far too many years that I can remember, and I've seen 4 games this season that were probably up there with the most memorable games for various reasons I've been to. Inter Milan at home and away, Liverpool in the semi-final away, and Wembley. Amazing games and days out for various reasons, even though we lost 2 of them. So, if someone had said that to me, I'd have said, yeah, this is great, I'll take that. But the fact is, for all those highs, there's been too many lows.
And it certainly outweighs each other. But look, let's wrap things up then on this TUI transfer talk. But let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Obviously, what do you make of the reports that Claude Puel could be on his way out the door in the summer, probably just after the finish of the Premier League season. A lot of you are already voicing your opinions, but let us know your thoughts in the comments below. But as always, leave us your likes and subscribe for more.